All right, folks. Brand new trial on Court TV, day 2 today. This one, extremely tragic. 9 victims, including 5 children. Joy Lim Nakrin has the story.
A string of arsons still haunts this Akron, Ohio neighborhood.
It changed everything. Everything. And you don't know who to trust.
62-year-old Stanley Ford is accused of setting 3 fires on his own block, killing 9 of his neighbors.
9 people, 9 family members. I mean, the road's already so bad.
The first fire happened in 2016, killing 65-year-old Lindell Lewis and his partner, 66-year-old Gloria Jean Hart. This lot now sits vacant where their home once stood. Then came a car fire which injured no one, but in 2017, Ford allegedly set a fire which killed a family of 7. The victims, 35-year-old Dennis Huggins, 38-year-old Angela Boggs, and their 5 children, the youngest just 1 year old.
It was senseless. It wasn't no reason for it. You know, you took away children and parents.
Arson is so sudden and so tragic that I definitely feel for the families.
Prosecutors say Ford had disputes with his neighbors, which allegedly drove him to kill.
This man not went and killed somebody else. He burnt up somebody else's house already, and then went and did it to a family of 7.
When I moved here, I felt it was a nice community, and it's a shock that this has happened.
Ford is accused of more murders than any one individual in Summit County history, and he is facing the death penalty for his alleged crimes.
It's just not right. People like that should be put away, lock the key, forever.
I feel very badly for the families, and I hope that they get the justice that they deserve.
Ford maintains he is innocent and is being held without bond at the Summit County Jail pending the outcome of his trial. He tried to move the trial to another county, saying extensive media coverage had turned the community against him, making it impossible to find a jury of impartial people.
It's sad. And I just, again, I would say, I hope justice does get served. So.
Okay, so as this trial is now continuing, a little bump in the road, or is it a big bump in the road? Well, that's what we're going to have to figure out here tonight. In one of the eyewitnesses having a little trouble identifying the defendant. Take a listen.
Now, Ms. Wright, you talked about the gentleman that lived on the corner at 1370 Hillcrest, and you referred to him as Mr. Ford or Stanley. Do you see that person here in court today? Where is he? Can you point him out for us?
You asking me, do I see him?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, could you point him out for us and describe what he's wearing? You're pointing to this gentleman here?
Yes.
All right. And why are you pointing to him?
Because I think he's Ford.
All right, can you take your mask off? Does he still look like Mr. Ford to you?
Yeah. Now
right.
you're getting me all confused.
All right. At the time, let me ask, last time you saw Mr. Ford, what was his hair like?
Longer. A little longer.
And when you say long, how long was it?
Wasn't very long.
Mr. Ford?
When I saw him when we were downstairs last time I was in here,
Yeah.
I think it was bald.
Okay. All right. And when he lived across the street from you, how was his hair?
Pretty much bald.
All right. All right, I have no further questions, Judge. Thank you.
Not my favorite thing to happen when you're the prosecutor. You got witnesses, you need them to positively identify, especially in this case where the ID is the key to the whole case. Let's bring in Court TV crime and justice reporter Joy Lim Nakrin, who joins us live from Akron, Ohio tonight. Joy, great to see you. Give us some context for this moment, how it played out, and ultimately what we're left with here, and how significant is this witness?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, that's not the best moment you'd want to have if you're a prosecutor. And I think it speaks for itself that there was no cross-examination of that particular witness. I think the defense saw that and said, okay, the work's been done for us here. And yes, this was an important witness in this case. She's one of just two neighbors that we heard from today. And she described kind of the tense relationship that Lindell Lewis had with the defendant, Stanley Ford. To be more specific, she just explained that there was kind of a difference in lifestyles between Ford and Lindell Lewis, and just that Ford didn't particularly approve of or agree with the lifestyle that was going on at the Lewis home at the time. So that was really key to the prosecution's overarching theme, that this is ultimately what drove Ford to kill his neighbors.
Now, the big issue in the case, though, is there's videotape. It's a little grainy. You can't quite tell who it is. So it's all about identifying the person. So what exactly is the nature of her testimony and the fact that she's having trouble identifying the defendant? Is the jury supposed to believe that whoever she pointed to maybe did this? Or who did she point to, by the way? Do we know?
Yeah, it was a member of the prosecution's own team. So, you know, we're really, it wasn't a moment that the prosecution obviously planned for. And you're right. I mean, the identification of this defendant is key to this case because, you know, as the defense said in their 10-minute long opening statement, it's clear that this is a tragedy, but our defendant is not the person responsible. And they have been pointing to a myriad of other suspects that they think could be responsible for these crimes.
And she said the guy was bald. He's not bald.
No. Obviously, that's something that can change. He may have had a shaved head at the time and maybe grew out his hair, so maybe that's why she had trouble identifying him. But we had other witnesses stand up in court and say, that is Stanley Ford. That's the person that I'm talking about. So, you know, I'm not sure, you know, how that's going to play with the jury. The woman otherwise, you know, was very colorful in her testimony. She described seeing the defendant at the grocery store and greeting him, and, you know, described the defendant being friendly to her husband, and, you know, him actually being pretty nice to them as neighbors, neighborly.
Oh, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't him that was so nice. Maybe it was that prosecutor who was being nice to. This is very confusing. All right, Joy, stay where you are. I've got more questions. Let's bring in the think tank to get a little bit of perspective on all this. Ann Brebner, Michael Sterling, Al Wunsch. Al, should prosecutors now provide an alibi for the prosecutor that she pointed to, or where are we now? Is this something they can overcome? Is this something the defense is going to pounce on?
Well, that's why whenever I was a prosecutor and they'd asked to have identify the person that, you know, is the defendant, I'd use the old pen here and point to a side, just going, oh, excuse me. This is not good. It's not good. I mean, you know, and the prosecutor did everything humanly possible to get like her to look to where the guy was, where the cop is sitting behind him, for God's sakes. And she still didn't identify him. And with all that testimony, how run into him at the supermarket and friendly with my husband, and he's a good neighbor, and he's this, and he's that, and the other thing, and she couldn't identify him. But I will say this, the one thing that the prosecution could probably use as a defense is the masks, which I do think is a problem. And you know, kudos to this judge who said that, you know, we're not going to let any mask mandate trample over one's constitutional rights. But the mask situation, Vinny, is a huge problem. And, you know, having that up there, you really don't know who's behind the mask or what's going on behind the mask, what kind of, you know, gesticulations or this, that, the other thing. The witnesses shouldn't have a mask. The defendant should not have a mask. And the attorneys on the table should not have a mask. And that will be what as a prosecutor, I just say, listen, folks, you know what, these masks on, it gets a little confusing, but let's not worry about that. Let's take a look at everything else, and we're in good shape.
Okay, well, there was some cross-examination today, and we know where the defense is going. They're pointing the finger in other places to other neighbors. Take a listen.
You knew the two people that lived in the basement at Lindell Lewis's house prior to you going to prison. You knew they were drug addicts, correct?
I didn't know them personal. I didn't know them personally. I never met them personally because that section of the house was blocked off. So I didn't know. I knew some people lived in the basement. I didn't know who lived in the basement.
You knew they were drug addicts in the basement, didn't you?
Yeah, I knew that
How did you know that?
because, I mean, I knew a couple of people, like you said, that used to go in and out of the basement. I knew people that used to go in and out of that basement.
So how did you know the people that lived in that basement were drug addicts?
I didn't know that they lived in the basement. I know they used to frequent the house.
Well, you told us last time that they lived in the basement and they were drug addicts.
Well,
did
I
you
mean,
not?
listen, the one person that I identified don't live in the basement. I never met the gentleman that lived in the basement. The person that they used to come to the house to visit, the gentleman in the basement, she was a female and she used to come visit the gentleman in the basement.
How did you know that?
I mean, I just sitting on the front porch talking to Linda a lot.
And you saw a lot of traffic going in and
I
out?
only saw one person go in and out of that basement.
You saw one person?
I saw one person. I saw a female person go in and out of that basement. And I knew her past, and I knew of her.
A little confusing, Michael, but the bottom line here is that the defense saying, listen, there's drug addicts in the basement of one of the houses that was torched here. There's another potential suspect in all of this, of what happened. The problem I have is that it's not just one fire in one house. So it's got to be someone who's out to get more than one group of people here. And why would the druggies in the basement of one house burn down the other house?
Yeah, I mean, Vinny, that's an excellent point that you bring up. And yeah, the cross-examination there was just a bit confusing to me. I get where the defense was going, but certainly there was a lot of pushback by the witness, speaking about what he knew or didn't know regarding who was going in and out of the basement and who lived there. But yeah, I agree. I think, you've got appointed alternative suspects. There are 2 fires. That's extraordinarily suspicious. And then it makes, the jurors think, hey, this was not just random. 2 houses in the same neighborhood burning down in proximity of time has to be, some motive, has to be something intentional. This wasn't something that was random. And it wasn't something that was done by, perhaps some random drug addict who had no vendetta against, these victims.
And Bremner, what are your thoughts about pointing the finger in this case? I mean, it seems to me you've got to point the finger at someone that would want to commit multiple arsons, or do you think they could credibly argue to the jury that, yeah, this person had a motive to burn down this house, and then there's a second arsonist who had a motive to burn down that house?
No, I can't see it, Vinny. I mean, when I was a prosecutor, we called it the Saudi defense. Some other dude did it. And you've got to have some trend circumstances connected to that person. I mean, legally, to get that kind of evidence in, usually. You can't just say, oh, point the finger, maybe this person, maybe that person. And no, this guy's a serial arsonist. And who's the discontent in the neighborhood? Who's the guy in the neighborhood who hates all his neighbors, think they poisoned his dog, they're in his yard, they're drug addicts? It's the defendant. And any other argument, I think, is going to be, something that's not going to carry the day in this case. Like you said earlier, though, Vinny, I think the grainy surveillance or other video, the lack of an identification that we just saw with a neighbor witness, those are the kinds of things that I think can be chipped away at by the defense.
Okay, when we come back, we're going to go on.